Oklahoma City bombing conspiracy theories. A variety of alternative theories have been proposed regarding the Oklahoma City bombing. These theories reject all or part of the official government report. Some of these theories focus on the possibility of additional co-conspirators that were never indicted or additional explosives planted inside the Murrah Federal building. Other theories allege that government employees and officials, including U.S. President Bill Clinton, knew of the impending bombing and intentionally failed to act on that knowledge. Government investigations have been opened at various times to look into the theories. Overview. Overview. At 9:02 a.m. CST April 19, 1995, a Ryder rental truck containing more than 6,200 pounds 2,800 kg of ammonium nitrate fertilizer, nitromethane, and diesel fuel mixture was detonated in front of the north side of the 9-story Alfred P. Murrah Federal building. The attack claimed 168 lives and left over 600 people injured. Shortly after the explosion, Oklahoma State Trooper Charlie Hanger stopped 26-year-old Timothy McVeigh for driving a 1977 Mercury sedan without a license plate and arrested him for that offense and for unlawfully carrying a weapon. Within days, McVeigh's old Army friend Terry Nichols was arrested, and both men were charged with committing the bombing. Investigators determined that they were sympathizers of a militia movement and that their motive was to retaliate against the government's handling of the Waco and Ruby Ridge incidents. The bombing occurred on the second anniversary of the. McVeigh was executed by lethal injection on June 11, 2001, while Nichols was sentenced to life in prison. Although the indictment against McVeigh and Nichols alleged that they conspired with others unknown to the grand jury, prosecutors, and later McVeigh himself, said the bombing was solely the work of McVeigh and Nichols. In this scenario, the two obtained fertilizer and other explosive materials over a period of months and then assembled the bomb in Kansas the day prior to its detonation. After assembly, McVeigh allegedly drove the truck alone to Oklahoma City, lit the fuse, and fled in a getaway car he had parked in the area days prior. Additional conspirators. Several witnesses reported seeing a second person with McVeigh around the time of the bombing, whom investigators later called John Doe 2. In 1997, the FBI arrested Michael Brescia, a member of Aryan Republican Army, who resembled an artist's rendering of John Doe 2 based on the eyewitness accounts. However, they later released him, reporting that their investigation had indicated he was not involved with the bombing. One reporter for the Washington Post reflected on the fact that a John Doe 2 has never been found. Maybe he'll John Doe 2 be captured and convicted someday. If not, he'll remain eternally at large. The one who got away, the mystery man at the center of countless conspiracy theories. It's possible that he never lived. It's likely that he'll never die. 2 days after the bombing, this informant reminded the ATF of the earlier report and urged investigation into a possible connection to Elohim City. McVeigh is known to have telephoned Elohim City 2 weeks before the bombing. Jane Graham, a housing and urban development employee at the Murrah building who survived the bombing, later stated that in the days before the bombing she had observed multiple suspicious persons who she suspected may have been involved, such as unfamiliar persons in maintenance or military uniforms, but that her observations were ignored by authorities. Graham later identified one of these men as Andreas Strassmeyer of Elohim City. There are several theories that McVeigh and Nichols had a possible foreign connection or co-conspirators. This was due to the fact that Terry Nichols traveled through the Philippines while terrorist mastermind Ramzi Youssef of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing was planning his Bajinka plot in Manila. Ramzi Youssef placed the bomb used in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing inside a rented Ryder van, the same rental company used by McVeigh, indicating a possible foreign link to al-Qaeda. Other theories link McVeigh with Islamic terrorists, the Japanese government, and German neo-Nazis. Nichols specifically alluded to other conspirators in 2006 declaration. There are others who assisted McVeigh, whose identifiers are unknown to me, but Nichols also identified two co-conspirators. In addition to unknown persons, Nichols believed Andreas Strassmayer was an agent provocateur, and FBI agent Larry Potts was involved in the bombing plot. Nichols went on to deny any connection to terrorist groups in the Philippines. The FBI did not reply to media requests for comment on Nichols' allegation. There has also been speculation that an unmatched leg found at the bombing site may have belonged to an unidentified. It was claimed that this bomber was either in the building when the bombing occurred or had previously been murdered, and McVeigh had left his body in the back of the Ryder truck to hide it in the explosion. Additional explosives. One theory contends there was a cover-up of the existence of additional explosives planted within the Murrah building. The theory focuses on the local news channels reporting the existence of a second and third bomb within the first few hours of the explosion. Theorists point to nearby seismographs that recorded two tremors from the bombing, believing it to indicate two bombs had been used. Experts dispute this, stating that the first tremor was a result of the bomb, while the second tremor was due to the collapse of the building. Conspiracy theorists say that there are several discrepancies, such as a proposed inconsistency between the observed destruction and the bomb used by McVeigh. Physicist Samuel T. Cohen, known as the primary inventor of the neutron bomb, stated in a letter to an Oklahoma politician that he did not believe a fertilizer bomb was capable of causing the destruction at the Murrah building. Similarly, Air Force Brigadier General Benton K. Parton expressed an opinion that there must have been additional explosive charges inside the Murrah building. U.S. federal government involvement. Investigations. In 2006, U.S. Congressman Dana Rohrabacher said that the Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigations of the U.S. House Committee on International Relations, which he chaired, would investigate whether the Oklahoma City bombers had assistance from foreign sources. On December 28, 2006, when asked about fueling conspiracy theories with his questions and criticism, Rohrabacher told CNN, "There's nothing wrong with adding to a conspiracy theory when there might be a conspiracy, in fact." Among other unresolved questions, Rohrabacher also criticized the FBI for not explaining how Nichols, who did not work steadily, paid for his several trips to the Philippines and had $20,000 cash, for not finding explosives concealed in Nichols's house until a decade after the bombing, for not explaining the rush to rule out the existence. In March 2007, Danny Carlson, who served as Deputy Assistant Director of FBI at the time of attacks, voiced his concerns and called for reopening of investigation. On September 28, 2009, Jess Trentadue, a Salt Lake City attorney, released security tapes that he obtained from the FBI through the Freedom of Information Act that show the Murrah building before and after the blast from 4 security cameras. The tapes are blank at points before 9:02 a.m., the time of detonation. Trentadue said that the government's explanation for the missing footage is that the tape was being replaced at the time. Said Trentadue, 4 cameras in 4 different locations going blank at the same time on the morning of April 19, 1995. Trentadue became interested in the case when his brother Kenneth Michael Trentadue died in federal custody during what Trentadue believes was an interrogation because Kenneth was mistaken for a possible conspirator in the Oklahoma City bombing. In a civil suit, the court determined Trentadue's injuries could have been self-inflicted and rejected the Trentadue family claim that he was murdered. However, the family was awarded $1.01 million for emotional distress on the findings the Bureau of Prisons mismanaged the investigation and aftermath of Trentadue's death. In November 2014, John R. Scheindler, a former professor at the Naval War College and National Security Agency intelligence officer, wrote it would be good if a serious relook at Obama's many unanswered questions were established for the event because of the existence of important evidence indicating there's something we should be talking about. He stated that when he participated in a re-examination by the United States intelligence community after the September 11 attacks of possible foreign involvement with recent terrorist attacks. He found, as Rohrabacher's investigators did a few years later, that the FBI and DOJ had no interest in anyone peeking into the case, which they considered closed. Indeed, while cautioning that the bombing has attracted more than its share of charlatans and self-styled experts, some of whom are eager to pin the bombing on Arabs, Masons, Jews, and perhaps space aliens, Scheindler urged a resumption of Rohrabacher's investigation and cited two issues as notable: McVeigh's and Nichols's visits to the Philippines and the activity